Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC Fight Night 130, Thompson versus Till, and also be predicting a couple bonus fights because the card made some shifts. The Manny Bermudez fight fell off, so some fights moved up to the main card, some fights moved here, moved there, and I missed a couple now. So some new fights to the main card, and I'll just predict those as well. So basically in this video, I'm predicting all the fights I have yet to predict on this card, and I'm gonna start from the prelims. Then I'm gonna get to those those bonus fights, and I'm just gonna predict them all. So let's just get into the first fight of the prelims. In the first fight, we have Elias Theodorou versus Trevor Smith. Elias Theodorou is clearly seen as the better fighter, or at least in people's eyes, he's the higher rated fighter, clearly favored in this fight. Most people are clearly picking him. I don't think nobody's really picking Trevor Smith, but Trevor Smith is a respectable fighter. I think he's very good at what he does. He's good at controlling you with wrestling. He's very gritty. He's embraced the grind. He's good at controlling you on the ground. He has decent power. He certainly could touch you, but I'm not saying he's no phenomenal knockout artist, but I think his best attribute is his ability to grind out opponents, ground out decision in his wrestling, gritty, old school or classic folk style wrestling, which he's very good at. He's very good at that. But with Elias Theodorou, I think Elias Theodorou has good enough counter wrestling, fair enough offensive wrestling, good submission grappling defense. And another thing he's good at moving, which he does all the time. He's not not gonna land the hardest shots, but he's good at constantly moving. And I don't think Trevor Smith is that good at cutting off the cage. So Theodorou will be able to move a lot during this fight, like in typical fashion. I don't think he'll land anything too dramatic or with too much damage. He'll land a lot of slapping kicks and maybe some flailing punches there every now and then to land some body kicks and stuff. But I don't think nothing that's going to stop the fight. I think Trevor Smith might have his moment towards the end or middle, but I think it won't be enough to shift the direction of the fight. I think Theodorou will be able to counter the grappling, get back to his feet, or really negate a lot of what Trevor Smith is doing, just enough that Theodorou could get back to what he's doing. And I think it will be rinse and repeat through 3 rounds, Theodorou doing what Theodorou does, and I see a clear-cut decision. So in this fight, I have Elias Theodorou via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Jillian Robertson versus Molly McCann. And I don't really know too much about either of these fighters, but I looked into them and I saw Jillian Robertson on I think the Tough season, Tough 25, the flyweight season or whatever. Wasn't too impressed. I think she lost in the first round to Bob Hancock. Then I saw her first fight. I wasn't really impressed. Look at her record. She hasn't really. I think most people she beat have been like 2-2, 4-2. And Molly McCann is a Cage Warriors champion. Cage Warriors champion. Comes from a respectable gym out there. I wasn't really too impressed with her record either, but just judging based off their accolades and kind of saying where the gyms they come from, I think Molly McCann's going to get this one done. I think she is a more experienced fighter, more fights, better competition, champion. She's had more going for her. And I don't see nothing about Jillian Robertson that will make me change my opinion on that. So I think that Molly McCann's going to get a solid 3-round decision over her. I don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be pretty clear cut that Molly McCann win this fight. So in this fight, I have Molly McCann via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Bradley Scott versus Carlos Peter Solly, I believe. And Carlos Peter Solly, I think I saw some highlights from his fight against I forget his Nicholas Dalby. Respectable fighter. Has up and downs. He's on, he's off sometimes. But a solid win. I think it was a exciting fight. They both showed well-rounded skills. So Carlos Pedersoli is definitely a sleeper pick, or maybe not to some people. I don't think the pick that win was necessarily that big enough for me to pick him. I think Bradley Scott has fought in better competition, fared well against better competition. He's certainly not streaking right now, but I think he's just been fighting better competition. I don't think Pedersoli is going to necessarily be that grappler style to grapple him. I think it's going to be a full fight from the ground to the top. No, neither fighter is going to have any huge advantages anywhere. Pedersoli might have the speed because Scott is coming down from middleweight to welterweight, but I'm not too sure. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. But I think Bradley Scott experience against top level competition. He's certainly fought in better competition. He fought Robert Whitaker, et cetera, et cetera. He's fought in better competition, in my opinion. And he's fought in larger opponents. And I think most of his losses outside of the Robert Whitaker loss have been to people who are larger grapplers. And I don't think Pedersoli is necessarily some grappler style, serious ground and pound type fighter that's going to put that type of pressure on him as far as in the grappling aspect. So I think Bradley Scott's going to get this one via decision after 3 rounds. So in this fight, I have Bradley Scott via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, Lena Landsberg versus Gina Mazzani. And another toss-up fight. I think it's any fighter has this fight really a given to them. Lena Landsberg is up and down, but respectable losses. Cyborg definitely, you can't even count that as a loss. I think just about any woman, well, really any woman, period, right now in her vicinity will lose to her, really. So to get loser is not really that, don't even really count as loss in most people's minds. Gina Mazzani lost to Sarah McMahon. I wasn't impressed by the performance. She was just taken down, looked helpless, and got finished pretty quick. It was domination. I think Lena Landsberg is tougher than Mazzani. I think that's what's going to come down. Who's tougher? I think their skills are pretty evenly matched. And I think it's just going to come down to who's tougher. It's going to be a close fight, but I think Lena Landsberg's toughness is going to pull it out for her, and she's going to outgrind her, outgrit her, outland her just enough, and do what needs to be done to win. So after 3 rounds in this fight, I have Lena Landsberg via decision. Then on to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Daniel Kelly versus Tom Breeze. And Tom Breeze, when I first saw him in the UFC, I thought he would be one of the next stars in the welterweight division. I thought he would be this, I thought he'd be that. He had some good wins. Then he suffered a loss. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but I know him very well as far as his fights, the guy he lost to. It was a close fight, could have went either way, split decision, very close strike output on both ends, very close strike landed, and et cetera, et cetera. It was a solid, decent performance by both men, and wasn't his night. He just got edged out. So I still think Tom Breeze has a lot of talent. I don't know exactly where he'll go in the sport, but I think he certainly can go a lot of places. He certainly has pretty good boxing, pretty good control of range, has some good pop to his punches. Grappling is fair. And I think might have improved on it. He's spent some time out there. And Dan Kelly is a very underrated fighter. People say he's 38, 40, past his prime, but you look at some of his wins, he was on a good winning streak in the middleweight division. He's beat us up solid names. You could say he beat us on faded names, but he comes to bang. He's like, I think when he first came off the Ultimate Fighter, or when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, I wasn't that impressed with him. But ever since then, he came off and got some solid wins. He's suffered some losses now, but he's certainly respectable. I don't think his speed is that good. He's tricky, good. He's like unorthodox. He has some power in his hands. He has a lot of good judo setup takedowns, and he could pressure you the whole fight. But I think that Tom Breeze is good at boxing. His height, his range, his speed, coming up from welterweight, is going to serve him well to keep Daniel Kelly at bay. And Daniel Kelly, a lot of what he does, I don't think his jab is best. It's very awkward. It really only works against people he can really smother. He likes to smother you, gets up close to you, and pretty much rough you up. And then we fight someone like Tom Breeze, who has a solid boxing. If you can control that range and keep Daniel Kelly at bay, not allow him to get in these close, sloppy, punch you in the face and try to land some judo trips and throws on you from close up, Tom Breeze should really be able to neutralize a lot of what Daniel Kelly is doing. Not to see him pretty much catching Daniel Kelly in the second round after kind of finding his range. And then Daniel Kelly comes in like awkwardly, like he does a lot of times. I just see him tagging him with like a straight right on the chin and dropping him and then finishing him off. So in this fight, I have Tom Breeze after 2 rounds via second round TKO. And now on to our bonus fights. In the main card, we have Eric Spicely versus Darren Stewart. And this is a questionless fight. So Darren Stewart, another fighter who I think had a lot of potential. He came to UFC, had that win over, I forget that game, Barroso. He had that, then it was overturned. I thought he could be a new talent in the light heavyweight division. Dropped down to middleweight. I think suffered at least 1 or 2 losses here. Still a talented fighter. He puts some good performances. He never just fades and just wilts. He always gives a war, whether he gets finished, whether it goes decision. He always gives it his all. I think he has pretty good power, pretty good athleticism, pretty well-rounded, but he's just lacking that ability to win right now. And Eric Spicely, solid fighter. I don't like his striking. I don't like how he kind of reacts when he gets hit. Sometimes he just curls up. Sometimes he just fades. But when he gets you on the ground, he's just about as deadly as anybody else on the ground. Just about anybody else. I'm not saying he might be as deadly as Jacare, Damian Maia, but outside of that, he's just about as deadly as anybody else when he gets you to the ground. He's quick to get to these positions, secure positions, very fast, has pretty solid wins, was over Thiago Santos and some other people. He's pretty good on the ground when he gets you there. And I see if he can get it to the ground and get it there often, this should be his fight to win. I think Darren Stewart is pretty well-rounded, so he might be able to neutralize the takedowns, and that might play out for him. But really in this fight, I think it's going to be some awkward moments in this fight, but after that, Eric Spicely, knowing that he needs to get it to the ground and win, he's going to be tenacious with that takedown. He's going to might get caught a couple times, or might be some close calls, but he'll get a takedown in the first round, maybe late after trying to go for it hard for the first couple minutes, not really getting it. Might get it late, but not really be able to secure the submission in the first round. But by the second round, he'll have gotten him down in the first round at least one time, and he'll get in the second round, he'll get it easier once he knows how he's comfortable with well, not comfortable, he's used to used to pretty much grappling with Darren Stewart and how comfortable, like he knows the path to get him to the ground. Like he's got him there before and he'll get him there again. Like somebody land a strike, they get their range down, he'll get his grappling down, he'll get his timing down and all that stuff. And he'll get his positioning down and he'll be able to take him down easier in the second round. And I see like a mid to late round submission stoppage for Eric Spicely. So in this fight, I have Eric Spicely via second round submission. Then on to our final pick of this video and of this card. The last pick I have to pick. We have in the welterweight division, Claudio Silva versus Nordine Talib. Looking at Claudio Silva's record, he had some pretty decent wins. Brad Scott, and he had another guy. I'll get it right now, but that's a pretty respectable win. I'm forgetting his names right now because it's just off the top. But I know who the guy is. He's a pretty respectable striker, pretty respectable here and there, some underrated grappling, and he has a win over him. I looked back at the fight metric and I saw that. I thought he was like fairly striking him, but I think when I'm like looking from the tail of the tape, it was a split decision. I think it was more so he was going to outstruck and he made it work with his grappling. I think Claudio Silva probably has respectable striking, but it's probably not his strong. So I think he's more so of a grappler. He gets things done by mixing in his takedowns to edge out decisions. I think that's his style, at least since he's been in the UFC, at least against top level competition. And for Nordine Talib, I think Talib was originally like one of these fighters that never really peaked. They were one of these fighters that were great in the gym, good everywhere, probably have an encyclopedia of knowledge in the gym, but when it comes to the fight time, they just choke. I feel that Nordine Talib, pretty much since he's coming off the Ultimate Fighter, taking some losses here and there, I think he really has found himself. He's really been fighting up to the best of his ability ever, as far as actually in the cage. He's solid everywhere, good at controlling the range, has a lot of he's so technical, has power, and he's pretty much good everywhere. I think his takedown defense is good, his offensive takedown is good, his timing is good. He's a solid fighter everywhere. Only thing he's kind of lacking is that it fact. Like, he has all these skills and he's so well-rounded and knows so much, but you just don't feel like he'll ever be champion or challenge for a title. But I think he has all it takes to beat a lot of people. I think he could beat Claudio Silva, who's been out for I think at least 2 or 3 years, been inactive. And then I think will really employ a wrestling style. I think where Talib fails is when somebody tries to pressure him with a strike and gets in his face, makes it ugly. And then his technical, like he starts to get his technique starts to go out the window when somebody gets in his face and make him uncomfortable. I think Claudio Silva is more so going to be he's not going to really be doing the best pressuring. He's going to be trying to get some takedowns. And I think Talib's takedown defense is pretty good. He's gotten better at dealing with people who try to pressure him. Outside of Santiago Ponzinibbio, who's top tier at that. That's where he makes his bread off. Haven't really been too many people that had success getting in his face in like the last 2 years. And I don't think Claudio Silva is going to be any different. I think Talib is just going to control the range well, defend the takedowns. I think it's not going to be an easy fight. It's not going to be no clear-cut decision. It might be some rough moments, but I think Talib just going to be edging Claudio Silva out most rounds, maybe getting some solid rounds that clear-cut. But for the most part, it's not going to be like, I don't think it's going to be a wash or no 3 straight rounds for Talib. It's going to be like a 29-28. But it's going to be, after the rounds, it's going to be not a split decision, but clear unanimous decision, 29-28. So in this fight, I have Nordine Talib via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for UFC Fight Night 130, the prelims, and some bonus fights. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.